With over 8,000 plus graduates, Galvanize and Hack Reactor are leading the industry in data science and software engineering education. In this series, we interview students in depth on their educational journey. This is Decode, my coding bootcamp story.
Welcome to Decode, my coding bootcamp story. Today, we are interviewing Trey Ammatuna, who graduated from our online software engineering program. So let's get started. Trey, what was your background before you came to Hack Reactor, and what inspired you to learn to code?
My primary industry before I came into tech was the entertainment industry. I primarily worked as an audio engineer for about the past decade, and mainly in live sound and concert venues. So I was one of the audio engineers in front of these huge boards, taking care of all the sound that I did what was called monitor sound. So it was the ones that the bands actually heard on stage. And what ended up happening is through that, and towards the end of my career as an audio engineer, I had 3 kids at that point, and in order to really survive, I'd basically have to leave them to go on tour with different bands or sound companies. And quite frankly, I didn't want to do that. My youngest kid was not even a year old at this point, and so I really needed to figure out something else to do, and decided to make a change. And so I left the venue that I was at, and at that point, I also had clients where I was doing some design work as well as taking care of some websites. And it was really more basic stuff for bands and venues and some smaller like local businesses doing some e-commerce work. And through that work, I really found myself just needing to do more than tools like WordPress could really do for me. And then digging on how I could actually accomplish these tasks, that's what caused me to really look into web development and what the possibility would be to actually go into that full time and what those opportunities would be. And when I saw that, it was really like eye-opening to go, wow, this is stuff that I honestly had been doing off and on a little bit and dipping my toes into for a long time. But I found if I looked at this and dove head first into it, I could really make a great career out of it where I'd be able to support my family a lot better.
From there, diving really deep into this software engineering thing, did you find any parallels between learning that and your experience in audio engineering?
Yeah, and at that point, really what I see as parallels in that is it's all about technical problem solving. As an audio engineer, when we were doing concerts, I mean, you get one chance to put on the concert for a crowd. And so that's really like in the moment, problems arise every few minutes with that kind of stuff. Right. And you really have to be able to take the entire picture and debug these issues that were going on with whatever was happening and figure out the problems and how to solve those very quickly. And that's where I really found what helped myself get into this industry and succeed very quickly was that while it's not as fast paced as this is your one shot and this has got to happen right now in the next 5 minutes or else the entire concert goes down, that critical problem solving and really keeping myself on my toes and then also being able to really look at the big picture as well as the tiny details, I found that's what really helped me excel and get into this and really pick myself up into the tech industry. Because I mean, honestly, like code is easy. It's as easy as really learning another language and how to describe something to somebody in another language. It's the solving problems part that we really get paid for.
Sure, of course. So, going into being paid for software engineering, what factors were you looking for that first software engineering job? And what do you look for in a job today versus that period in time?
The initial job search, I did the remote program with Hack Reactor. And at that time I was living in Athens, Georgia. And when I graduated there, I mean, Athens, Georgia, it's a small college city. It's got the University of Georgia there. And while there's a decent amount of people there, the opportunities are not very much. I mean, I had one opportunity there that was pretty much making about maybe 2/3 of like the industry norm when it comes to salary. And in talking to my wife and figuring out what we wanted to do, we knew that the main thing was we wanted to move to a new location where we could settle down a bit with our kids and allow them to grow and not move around a lot. And so it had to have a lot of opportunity in the tech industry.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, we wanted to be near water. So that's what really led us over to Seattle. And with that, and it was really kind of like, what can I get? What can I do as this kind of intro thing? And at that point, I landed a contract with Microsoft. So I was really, really privileged and really excited to get that opportunity. And it brought me out here to Seattle. And while that actually ended up being a fairly short contract, it gave me a lot of really great insights on how a team works and what to really look for in my next teams. And so after that initial position, I was able to take what I learned from that and really dig into what I wanted. And so my next job search focused on the opportunity for impact at the company, also professional and personal growth, just getting into a new industry and being able to have that opportunity to really grow in that. And quite frankly, a good work environment and culture behind it.
Yeah.
And I found that, and it was really great with my second company, which was Avo. And then after a little while, I decided that it was time to move on. So I continued on to a third job search. And I took really those same primary focuses of opportunity for impact, personal and professional growth, and work environment and culture, but then also added in the fact that I really wanted to be at a company that was at the top of its industry, and that industry being something that was really thriving and growing. And that's really what ended up bringing me over here to Leafly at this point now, because it's the cannabis industry. In this industry, you can't slow down at all. It's growing exponentially at the moment. Yeah. And quite frankly, Leafly is the top of the crop when it comes to cannabis information. A place of very hyper growth right now. We hired 150 people this year, doubling our entire staff. And we're not slowing down next year either. We've got a lot of stuff coming down the pipeline. And with that, I've been able to really have a huge impact on the direction that our technology is going at this point.
So you've come from Microsoft to Avo to Leafly, and obviously you've got a lot of experience right there. I was curious, is there one project that's been particularly gratifying over the years?
Honestly, it's been what I had been working on since I joined Leafly here has been my favorite thing. We released this at the end of September, so about a month and a half ago. And what it really is a new visual cannabis guide. And in this, my main task was working on the primary visualization that helps consumers quickly understand the actual chemical makeup of cannabis strains by using really simple shapes and colors. And what we do is at Leafly, we're the only cannabis company that has really great ties in with legitimate third-party laboratories that are testing all these strains. So we get the real data back about these strains and the chemical makeup of that. And we designed this visualization that basically is generated from the data that we get from these labs. And that was what I really worked on for the last 6 months. And now that we've released this, it's something that millions of people see and use every single month to be able to find the strains that help them with the different issues that they are suffering through. And quite honestly, it has the opportunity to be kind of like almost the logo of cannabis strains for the next decade, perhaps. So it's really exciting to see that it's like, that's what I worked on. I made the generator that makes these things. And now I go to places and I see these designs that I worked on everywhere.
I mean, that's one of the most amazing feelings to see something like that pay off. And, you know, it's amazing what you're accomplishing now, but I want to bring things back a little bit and go back into the reason you went into software engineering. So how do you maintain your professional growth while being a supportive father of four and a devoted partner at home?
Yeah, this is really something that comes up a lot. Like with our alumni channels that we have, I get directed to a lot in this factor of like people look at me and it's like, how the heck do you do this with 4 kids at the house? And honestly, the ultimately comes down to having a supportive partner and being able to have that support in order to carve out time to devote to these types of things. Generally, I have about a 45-minute bus commute each direction from work. And I use that time to listen to podcasts or audiobooks or really read the latest in the industry on what's going on in web development and different techniques that I can use in order to progress myself. And then the other side of things where I carve out is really when everybody in my house goes to sleep. Being from the entertainment industry, I've always kind of been a night owl type of a person. Like I used to work 1 p.m. till 4 a.m. And I still can't really get to sleep consciously very well until like about 11 o'clock to midnight. And so everybody else in my household is really in bed and asleep by like 9:30. So I take the next hour or two just about every evening to work on something for myself, whether that be working on a little side project, learning a new technology, sometimes even working on stuff at work from my actual work. Because a lot of things that I want to learn in development is to use them at work. And my mindset on that half the time is why make a side project when I can just get my main thing done that I'm working on it with. But then also having that mindset of like, it's not something I have to do. So it doesn't become a chore or like a required thing. If I want to slack off and watch Netflix for a night, I slack off and watch Netflix and I get back to the things the next night. But I keep a consistency of like, that's the first thing I think of in those times. And really with that, it's, I'm able to take that time and really build up a few little things and then use those at work. And then at work, trying to teach those things to other people and to the other devs at work, and being very active in, we have bi-weekly tech talks where somebody takes 30 minutes and talks to everybody about something they've learned. And I try to do one of those about at least every month if the opportunity is there. And because you really cement your own things by teaching others with that. But ultimately, I really couldn't do it without my wife. She's an amazing partner and mother to the kiddos, and one of the most supportive people I've ever had in my lifetime. And that's the biggest thing to me.
I mean, it's everything sometimes, having that support system. And, you know, between that support system of your family and your education, your work experience, what do you feel like has contributed most to your success, if there's any one thing?
Yeah, honestly, I'd say simple mindset. There's this concept of self-image. One book that I read somewhat recently was Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz, which was published in 1960. He was a plastic surgeon who put out this factor of like self-image. What he would realize is when he would do plastic surgery on somebody and adjust their face, that their entire outlook on life would change very much because they're like some deformity or something they had, it changed their self-image there. But he would also notice that sometimes it didn't work. And it drove him to look deeper into it, where it was really a mindset of your self-image. And I tell this to people a lot, and where you see things like where people are saying, it's like, hey, well, tell yourself you are what you are. Like those affirmations, like having affirmations in the morning, where my mindset is like, I'm a developer, I'm a software engineer. This is what I strive to be. This is where I see myself going. Yeah. When I was in my first 2 job searches and didn't really have any industry experience, I didn't call myself a junior web developer or anything like that. I didn't feel I was junior. I had that mindset. It's like, look, I'm a software developer. Yeah. That's what I am. I don't care if you think I'm junior, mid, or senior level. This is what I am. This is what I progress to. And that's where I have the mindset of like, this is what I do. I know I can solve these problems if I really put my mind to it. And so by striving in that mindset, I think that's what's really been able to allow me to progress and give myself the time in order to discover the opportunities and the knowledge that I need to succeed in this industry.
So going back, for all those future developers out there, what advice would you give to somebody who's interested in becoming a software developer?
If it's something that you really want to do and you really want to get into this industry, you're interested in it, give it a try out with some of the new things. I mean, there's lots of amazing resources out there nowadays for free to learn things, to get into this and see if it's really something you want to dive into. Things like Free Code Camp, or I know Hack Reactor and Galvanize have free resources as well to be able to test the waters in this. But when you really get into it, I think it goes back to what I was just talking about with mindset. When you start getting into this, start really telling yourself, look, this is what I'm doing. This is where I'm progressing. This is now who I am. I am a software engineer. This is what I'm going to do. And I think by really cementing that in yourself, it leads you to those opportunities, and it leads you to strive to see those opportunities more. With that, taking a little bit of time every single day to improve. It's not, they say it takes 10,000 hours of doing something to become a master at that. The issue is it's not like 10,000 hours at once. you will get more progression in yourself by taking 15 minutes a day to learn something versus 3 hours one day a week.
Right.
Because that repetition of those small things and becoming and getting that consistency and really just making it that time to improve yourself every single day with this. And really, like, don't let anybody tell you you can't make it in this industry. I've seen far too many people come from far too many backgrounds succeed in this industry to say that like anybody from anywhere can't make it just because you're coming from this background or you did this in your past, that you can't be a software engineer. You won't have success in this. In fact, I think it was one of our alumni in our channel today that was just mentioning how he saw one of the people he works with come from zero coding knowledge whatsoever 10 months ago to now making $120,000 a year in this industry as a software engineer. It can be done if you put yourself towards it and really just like putting that mindset towards it and really dedicating just that little bit of time, at least every single day, can really go leaps and bounds and really progress forward towards going into this industry and really becoming successful.
Trey, I think that's a great piece of advice. One little bit a day really does help, and I think that can be applied to just about anything.
I really think it's an industry where, honestly, a diversity of backgrounds helps out very much in success of a team, and having back people from these different backgrounds is able to really bring a lot of different ideas to the table that otherwise might not be there when you get people together that are kind of came up in the industry the same way. So yeah, I think that's diversity, and that is a huge aspect. And in that factor, it's like we need people from all different backgrounds to come into the industry and to help us get new outlooks on the problems that we are solving.
Absolutely. Diversity only makes us stronger. Well, Trey, thank you again so much for your time, and really appreciate you being here for these questions.
Take care. Anytime. It was a pleasure.
Thanks for joining us. This has been Decode, my coding bootcamp story. If you'd like to know more about our programs, please visit galvanize.com or email us at admissions@galvanize.com.